For those of you who are new to the channel and don't already know me, my name is Samuel L. Franzman, and I've been a filmmaker for going on about 6 years now. And recently I just finished up with my very first feature film, In the Hands of Fate. Now, although I am kind of shamelessly plugging that movie, hint hint, it does release here very soon, I also want to talk about it because there's some things that I really wish that I would have known before I went into making this first feature film with next to no money. So one of the very first things that I learned about making my first feature film right off the bat is that nobody is going to give you money to make your first movie. Now, before I went into my first Indiegogo campaign to raise money for In the Hands of Fate, I had these grandiose ideas that I was going to make this proof of concept from one of the scenes of the movie, and then people would just love it so much that magically they'd start throwing money at me and the rest would be history. But reality slapped me extremely hard, as it would turn out. And to be honest with you, I was lucky that I even got $300 on that first campaign out of my $25,000 goal. So for a while, I was pretty devastated, and at one point, I even contemplated just, throwing it away, hanging up the hat, and saying, maybe try again next time. But my mom, who really deserves a very special shout out because she has been so helpful and so supportive of me throughout my entire journey as a producer and as a director. She told me, forget all that. That's a bunch of BS. We're gonna make this movie one way or another, and we'll find a cheaper way to do it. So ultimately, that's what I decided to do. I pushed forward anyway throughout pre-production, and I even decided I was going to try running a second Indiegogo campaign now that I had a little bit more following and support behind me. And while it was still a very, very far cry from the goal that I ultimately wanted to reach in terms of funding, I will say it was a little bit more successful, but like I said, it still wasn't enough to where I felt like we could really do the movie and pay everybody and pay the cast and pay the crew to be involved. But to my surprise and utter gratitude, and to this day I'm still thankful, people that were involved on the project, whether it be the actors or some of the crew people who were signed on that were going to help out with this, loved the story so much and believed in this idea and this concept so much that they didn't care about being paid. They said, we're going to do this movie, and we're going to do this movie for free, and we're going to help you see this vision through because we want to see In the Hands of Fate. So the lesson here that I really learned and took away from it is, even if you don't think that you have enough money and enough resources to go into making your first feature film, if you have a strong enough story that people just believe in, and if you're just overall a decent person in general, people will flock to you and they'll give you their all to see this movie come to be, even without any financial or monetary gain. Now, the other big lesson that I learned making my feature film really does go hand in hand with this idea that nobody's going to give you money, and that's that you really need to be flexible and you need to adapt like you've never adapted before. Now, this isn't just relegated for your no-budget backyard home movies. This happens at any budget level, even millions of dollars. The fact of the matter is, any movie being made, and no matter what level it's at, is a miracle, because let me tell you from firsthand experience, anything that can go wrong is going to go wrong. But I will say that some of those challenges are amplified by a lack of funding and a lack of resources. You need to be even more creative and flexible and, willing to diverge from maybe something that you had written in your script to something that might be more realistic and more doable. So let me explain. I'll get into an example of a story that actually happened where we were really forced to change and adapt in a way that I did not anticipate going into making this movie. So what happened was, there was this location in the script we needed an abandoned warehouse. That's what it called for. Now, me, I have no money and no credibility and no pool, and I'm trying to find this, intricate and challenging location in that I want to be able to find a building that fits the look I want to go for and is both going to be a safe place to be in, as well as somewhere that we can legally get permission to film. Key word, legally. I know people that, and it might work on a short film or a music video or what have you that might just sneak into a building. I don't want to take those kinds of risks. So for me to proceed with any location, I want to make sure that I have all the documentation that I need. Everything is signed. All my eggs are together in a row on it. So I'm facing a very insurmountable challenge now, trying to find this abandoned warehouse. And I ended up getting 2 leads. So the first of which was the lead in the movie and a good friend of mine, Adam Joseph Turner. He has a friend who actually owns a warehouse out where he's from in Shelby, Ohio. And it was a pretty nice looking place, but the only caveat to it is that the setting that we were trying to achieve was, I wrote it in the script that the scene that we're shooting takes place at nighttime. And the plan was I wanted to shoot of the day inside and then block out any windows or any other sources of where sunlight can come in through using black poster board and cheat that day for night. Then once it got dark, move outside and get our exterior shots. But the issue is that there was aspects of the roof that were letting some sunlight come through in a way that would have made it a lot more challenging to shoot around the obvious beams of daylight that would be coming through. So there was another option that came to me. My cousin has a friend, and this warehouse is actually located closer to home in my hometown. And so I went over there. Everything seemed great. It was a beautiful location, and it would have been like absolutely wonderful for the movie. The problem with that one is that once it came time to actually signing the location release, all of a sudden the owner of that building became completely unreachable. So yeah, that wasn't happening. So we were back at the Shelby location. Now the night before we were going to shoot at the abandoned warehouse, I scheduled a night shoot for that Friday night where we were going to be at a different location and grabbing what I had anticipated on to be a few short night scenes. I thought maybe we'll be there for at maximum 4 hours because we really weren't shooting a lot that night. But once again, that harsh reality of filmmaking came to be. Anything that can go wrong on a movie set is eventually going to go wrong, and it's always going to be the thing that you did not anticipate and plan for. So that night was an absolute nightmare, and the culmination of that was one of the actors got hurt with the prop handcuffs that we were using. The handcuffs slipped and ended up kind of digging in a little bit, and so it was just, to me, that was like the cherry on top of a shit cake, if you will. But ultimately, I had made that call that night that, okay, hey, the next day here, we are not going to go as early as I planned. I was saying, hey, let's try to be there by noon. I said, all right, let's be at the location by 2, just so that way everyone could rest more. Well, ultimately, lo and behold, the next day, I wake up, I'm talking to everybody, and overall, everybody felt dead. We felt like zombies. I mean, we were out until, going on 2:30 in the morning the night before shooting, and it was it wasn't supposed to be an intense shoot, but it ended up being an intense shoot. And so I ended up very against my own wishes and my own every instinct in my being. I said that we need to cancel today's shoot. And so that's what we did. And as devastated as I was, that ended up being the best move that we could have made during the production of In the Hands of Fate. Because now that we had rescheduled to shoot that a month later, I had time to go back to the drawing board and try to find another location. And so my mom had this idea. She mentioned this old abandoned, well, not abandoned, but this old, it used to be a bar and now it's a dog training facility that me and some buddies of mine actually went ghost hunting at a few years back. And it would be a really creepy looking location if we shoot it right. In order to, forget abandoned warehouse, what if it's an abandoned bar? And I was like, you know what, that's a good idea. And so I reached out to one of the guys that he actually is a professional and does dog training through that location as well as others. And I reached out to him, and he actually, small world coincidence, actually happens to work professionally with Adam Turner on missing persons cases. And so there's already a connection there established. And plus, I know him from my time ghost hunting. And he put me in touch with the owner, a very, very sweet woman named Sarah. And her only catch was she wanted us to put her dog in the movie. And let me tell you, her dog was one of the best actresses that I've ever worked with, right? So it ended up really working out. And so we got this location out in Perrysville, and it wasn't what I wrote in the script. But now when I look back at it and I watch that scene in the movie, I mean, my honest opinion is that scene is my favorite in the movie. And a lot of it has to do with how unique and how cool the location is. And it was such a departure, but yet at the same time, still, we managed to shoot everything that I had written in the script, but just changed it around just a little bit to fit this new location, and it worked like a charm. So overall, the big takeaways from this video that I hope you get out of this is that when you're going into your first feature film, you need to lower your expectations just a little bit. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal and amazing to make any movie, but bear in mind that you're not going to have the money or the resources or the leverage or the pool that you really would dream of when you're going into a production. But because of that, and because of the fact that you're going to need to adapt on the fly and make these creative changes, you're going to learn a lot of valuable lessons that you'll carry on with you as you move into your second movie and beyond. And on top of that, oftentimes, some of these creative sacrifices and changes that we make end up actually being better than what we had originally planned altogether. So anyway, guys, I hope that you like this video. If you do, remember, make sure that you subscribe, you drop a like, and you turn the bell on there for notifications so you don't miss any videos on the Franz Productions YouTube channel. And for all of you indie filmmakers out there, if you have any other advice for anyone that's looking to get into making their first feature film, go ahead and share your stories and share your knowledge down in the comments. Anything that can help with aspiring filmmakers pursuing their dreams and ultimately contributing to this wonderful world of art that we call independent film. Also, for those of you who are interested, and I hope a lot of you are interested, in checking out my feature film, In the Hands of Fate, good news is I have secured distribution on that movie, which is like surreal for me to say right now. Like, I'm actually geeking out. It was huge. It's not currently out as of the recording of this video. If by the time I upload this video, it is out, I will obviously correct this. But what I'll say is stay tuned, because once it is available, I am going to be promoting it here on the Franz Productions YouTube channel, and I'd love for all of you to go check out In the Hands of Fate when it does come out. Anyway, guys, though, until next time, as always, that's a wrap.